The knowledge of the polarity and the hidden possibilities in man must be very clearly realized by every hermetist or aspirant for the same knowledge. There is always depicted on pentagrams as follows. 1. Drawings of the signs Yod and He, human androgyny. 2. The letters Alpha and Omega, knowledge of the source of primeval man on the earth, that is, his origin and aim, towards which present humanity is striving, consciously or unconsciously, and which highest aim is called in occultism the reintegration of man, the most sublime idea which we are able to know. This is the kingdom of God, of which Christ spoke. This is the nirvana of Lord Buddha, the Ansof of the Kabbalists, and the realization of the Supreme Self in us, as taught in this our own epoch by the great Rishi Ramana Maharshi. 3. Associated with these Greek letters are the Hebrew ones, Alph and Than, which symbolize the major arcana of the tarot as the framework or basis of our occult contemplation. 4. The names of the Sephiroth, an explanation of which appears in the next lessons, Chesed, grace, clemency, and Pichad, severity, justice. 2 elements neutralized by Tippereth, harmony, and beauty. Born from them in the realm of the ethical evolution of humanity, should be written in Hebrew. The great ceremony for the consecration of a pentagram has, of course, a synthetic character, which is in relation to the 4 hermetic elements about which you already know a lot from this course, and in the center of the cross which they form, the future magician will find his place. The meaning of these words has also been mentioned in previous lessons. The pentagram should be breathed over by the operator, a hint on the element of air, sprinkled with consecrated water, element of water in alchemy, dried in the smoke of incense, element of fire, and, for some time, be placed on soil, element of earth. Each of these manipulations is performed 5 times in the sequence just given, while pronouncing the holy letters, Yod, bowing to the east, He, bowing to the north, Va, to the west, and He, bowing to the south. Finally, the letter Shin is pronounced while standing in the center of the cross and looking straight upwards at the sky. As an indispensable final element of the consecration of your pentagram comes a traditional whispering of the synthetic great word Azoth. See the lessons of the 4th Arcanum. If it is difficult to make the pentagram of an alloy of the 7 metals, it is sufficient to be satisfied with an alloy of the 2 most precious ones, that is, gold and silver, or even of gold alone. Occultists often draw the pentagram on virgin parchment and use it in lieu of a metallic one. Personally, I consider a pentagram to be superior when it is made precisely from an alloy of gold and silver. If intended to be worn, it can be made about 1 inch or less in width, but for magic operations, especially in an attempt at astral exteriorization, a much larger one is needed, about 8 or 10 inches across, and this can be drawn as already mentioned. 7. The Column of Stones. The ones mentioned were used for manufacture of Gnostic talismans, the vulgar name of which was Abraxas. The following characters were cut on these talismans. For Saturn, a limping old man or snake rolling around the sunstone. For Jupiter, an eagle with a pentagram held in its claws or in its beak. For Mars, a dragon biting the handle of a sword. For the Sun, a snake with a lion's head. For Venus, a triple hermetic caduceus, sign of Azoth, or Kinocephalus, man with the head of a dog. And for the Moon, a globe with 2 crescent moons cutting into its surface. 8. The column of the Christian sacraments shows their correspondence to the planets, which is recognized by the majority of representatives of the Christian Episcopal egregor. These form a simple sequel to the development of the esoteric elements belonging to the Christian tradition and teachings used by those fathers of the Church who knew about the initiatory teachings. A. Extreme unction, in which a blessing is transmitted to cleanse the astrosome of sinful cliches, which, in some way, missed receiving help from the sacrament of penance. This unction is dedicated to Saturn because it belongs to elements which unfortunately infiltrated into the karma of a Christian. B. The Eucharist is the sacrament which, when used for the first time, announced the power of the baptized one in the realm of evolutionary Christian activity. Used subsequently in our life, it renews those same powers. Therefore, it is put under the sign of Jupiter. C. Penance, which needs strong inner effort in order to cleanse the astrosome of every impurity hidden in it. This often requires a fight against man's unwillingness to confess his faults, even when he knows perfectly well that no one apart from the impersonal priest will hear him. This relates penance to Mars. D. Orders, which give the ability and authority to spread the rays of Christian light, are naturally put under the sign of the sun. E. Matrimony, being the sequel to mutual attraction, belongs to Venus. F. Confirmation, which affirms the ability of a man to speculate in the realm of Christian dogmas and ethics, or prepares us to follow Christian ideas, belongs to Mercury. G. Baptism, by the ritual itself, is in connection with water, and so is associated with the moon's influence. It may be useful to note that on the ritual side of baptism, especially in the old Greek Orthodox Church, it exactly symbolizes the first astral exit of the neophyte initiate under the care of, or even in the company of, the master and future companions. Through this first exteriorization, the newly initiated aspirant merges into the realm of influence of the Earth's astrosome, defeats the involutionary reactions of its dark cliches, ascends into the pure astral, and returns to his body, in order to begin a new life as an initiate. The whirling current of the Earth's astrosome is here symbolized by the act of bathing in water, from which the baptized one emerges as if regenerated. As we see, in the light of occultism, the exoteric sacraments regain their esoteric meaning and contents. 9. The periods of life. These are easy to divide among the planets if we realize that in childhood there is the foremost need for the free influx of the vital forces given by the sun. The more developed susceptibility to outer influence has its place in early youth and therefore belongs to the moon. Similarly, in youth are manifested the beginnings of attraction, Venus, and violent reactions and deeds, Mars. Passing on to the more mature age, there appears to be the ability of adaptation, which therefore refers to Mercury, where full maturity does not feel any lack of methods or systems in the currents of life, Jupiter, and old age possesses an inclination to form logical laws and extreme cautiousness, Saturn. 10. The columns of the obverse of the talismans. The usual magic planetary talismans must bear the image of the microcosm, pentagram, and under it the relevant attribute as indicated in this column. 11. The column of the reverse of the talismans. These should have the sign of the macrocosm, Solomon's star, and the appropriate attribute as shown. A disc of corresponding metal, as given in this table, must be used as material for the talisman, but not for a pentagram or pentacle. For Mercury's talisman, we should have, of course, an alloy of all the metals, whose planetary influences are not opposite to those of the owner of the talisman.